Hey there, how's it going? This is Brandino here. This is going to be a speedrun of Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly for the PlayStation 2. And the speedrun is going to be played on Nightmare Mode. Now, for people who aren't familiar with Fatal Frame 2, Nightmare Mode is a difficulty that is unlocked after beating the game on Hard Mode. Now, because this requires me beating the game multiple times, this is considered a New Game Plus run. Because it is now possible to play Nightmare Mode out of the box. You have to beat the game at least twice. Once on normal, once on hard to get it. Now, the difference between Nightmare Mode and other difficulties is the fact that Ghost hits for way more damage, meaning that I can potentially get two-shotted throughout this entire run, even if I have a Mirror Stone. Yes, the Mirror Stone will refill my health, but the damage will carry over to the next health bar, so I still lose a bit of health. Not only that, but ghosts also have way more health, meaning that any film that's not Type 0 film is completely worthless in a speedrun. The only reason you would use any other sort of film is to build up your spirit power, but we're going to talk about that as we get there. Also, the last thing to note is that health items aren't as potent as they are on other difficulties. So, herbal medicine can't heal me for 60-65% of my life like they do on easy or normal, but sacred water will always fully heal you 100%. The first chapter of the game really serves as nothing more as a tutorial chapter. It teaches us how to use the camera. It teaches us how to fight ghosts, and it teaches us how to take pictures of other items, such as doors and fireplaces and key items, to progress to the rest of the game. Because something that's unique to the Fatal Frame series is that it requires us to take a picture of one specific item, and it shows us the location of something else, and we have to go to that specific location, either interact with that item or take a picture of it, and it will remove a seal, and that will allow us to progress to the rest of the game. Now, this game has some very interesting triggers. We have to act with specific key items in order to progress. Like, for example, here, even though I know that the room to the left of us that we pass, that's where the camera obscura is. If we go to that room early before picking up that memo notebook, we wouldn't be able to get the camera obscura, and we wouldn't be able to progress until we got that notebook. It's little triggers like that that makes Fatal Frame unique, interesting, and kind of annoying. But I've played through this game enough times that it doesn't really bother me that much. Now, like I said earlier, this is a New Game Plus run, so that does mean my camera is fully maxed out. I have all the lenses, all the special functions, and I also have 99 Type 0 film. And the only way I was able to get 99 Type 0 film is I had to grind for it. Now, when you beat this game and load your previous save file or your completed save file, all the film that you collected throughout the previous playthrough carries over. So I was able to collect all the Type 0 film I was able to find in one playthrough, beat the game, and repeat that until I got the desired amount of film, which was 99. And trust me when I say this, if you're going to speedrun Nightmare Mode difficulty for whatever reason, you're going to need 99 Type 0 film. Like I said earlier, any film that's not Type 0 is worthless. You do very little damage, and the thing about this speedrun is that you need to do as much damage as possible as fast as possible. Now, that little trigger there, you won't actually see the ghost walk to the door until we look through the viewfinder. Once she does that, we can start running towards the door to the little seal and take a picture of it. Now, speaking of lenses, the three lenses that we're going to be using throughout the entirety of this run is the serial lens, the zero lens, and the crush lens. The serial lens is the most unique out of the three, and it's the one I'm going to be talking about the most. The serial lens has two special functions. It allows us to take film without us having to reload, and it also allows us to do insane amounts of damage while only spending one spirit power. Now, the trade-off is it will only do insane amounts of damage if we shoot a ghost and it's not during Shutter Chance, which is the total opposite of how Fatal Frame works. Normally, you want to hit ghosts during Shutter Chance or Fatal Frame Chance to do max damage. Well, not with the serial lens. It does most damage when we don't do a Shutter Chance. Now, the Crush and Zero lens, however, it functions like most other lenses would. You hit a ghost during a Fatal Frame Chance or a Shutter Chance, and it does the same amounts of damage. But the trade-off with those lenses is that the Crush lens, it uses all of your spirit power, whereas the Zero lens uses three points of spirit power. Those lenses we're mostly going to be using against ghosts that disappears after one hit, or normally ghosts that doesn't allow us to chain shots against. And there's a few ghosts that we fight where we can only hit once before it takes us quite a bit of while for us to hit it again. Not with this ghost that we're going to fight. This ghost is one of the few ghosts in the game, if not the only ghost, that we're just going to flat out one shot. And you're going to see just how powerful the serial lens shot is. Now, RNG in this game isn't bad, but it's RNG, so it's pretty annoying. Even though we can manipulate how ghosts act and react towards certain shots, but we can't manipulate is how a ghost spawn. And for example, this ghost, she has quite a few spawn spots. She could spawn either right in front of us, or behind us, or even in a wall. The wall is the worst spawn point because if she loads in a wall, we can't shoot her unless she's barely outside of the wall. But see, right here we got a very good spawn point. She spawned right behind us and we were able to immediately get a serial shot and able to one-shot her. And that was chapter 1. Like I said, chapter 1 is just a tutorial chapter for the rest of the game. Chapter 2 is where the game really starts it. We're going to start off chapter 2 by playing as Mayu. There's a couple segments in the game where the game automatically switches over to Mayu. These sections of the game's only purpose, it just tells us where to go next. It's actually a pretty cool and unique way of leading us to our next objective. And in this case, we're going to have to go to the Kurosawa mansion in order to start chapter 3. But before we can do that, we have to find two parts to a key. And they're both parts are spread throughout the village. Now, one thing to note is that despite what difficulty you play on, item locations are exactly the same. It doesn't matter if you play on easy, it doesn't matter if you play on nightmare. All key items, all types of film, and all the function locations all spawn in the same point. So I already know exactly where to go as far as getting these halves of the key. But before we can even start that quest, we have to talk to, I think his name is Itsuki. We have to go to the storehouse and talk to him first, and he's going to tell us about the 2 keys. Otherwise, the 2 halves to the key will not spawn. Even if we go to this door first, that we're going to go to right now, even if we go to the door first and skip Itsuki, the keys won't spawn. We have to talk to him. Now, one thing to note about ghosts in this game is that, for the most part, ghosts are pretty slow in this game. You could outrun almost all of them. The only ghosts that are even considerably fast are the Veiled Priest, Mr. Kurosawa, who we're going to fight near the end of the game, and Sai. They're probably the 3 fastest ghosts in the game. Oh, and the Mourners, but I'll talk about them as we get to them. They can be kind of jerks. Also, we got to stop for these cute little crimson butterflies to tell us where to go next. They're showing us the way to the storehouse to talk to Itsuki. Now, as for the location of the two halves to the key, the first piece that we're going to get is actually towards the beginning of the game where we started at. Is going to be at the top of the hill near the entrance to the village. And the second half is going to be on the way to the big tree, right next to the Takibana house. But we're not going to get that key until a bit later. It's closer to get the key at on top of the hill first, rather than going all the way to the other side of the village and then backtracking. And as soon as we get this first half of the key, 3 ghosts are going to spawn, but they're not going to be of any threat to us, so we're just going to run past them. And for the second half of the key, another set of ghosts are going to spawn, but for those set of ghosts, we're going to run past them a bit differently. These sets of ghosts we could just run past, no problem, no strategy involved. They're too slow to do anything to us. The second half, we can't exactly do that because it's a much smaller space that we could run, that we're running through. Something to take note is that each playthrough, ghosts spawn throughout the village. Ghosts will randomly spawn throughout different points of the game. I think it depends on what difficulty you play on, because if you're playing on Nightmare, sometimes ghosts that you're not even supposed to encounter yet will randomly spawn throughout the village. But thankfully, they're not mandatory ghosts, so we don't have to fight them. Because we're not going to be picking up any sort of film throughout the entirety of the run, we're only going to fight the ghosts that are absolutely necessary with Type 0 film. And for ghosts that we're going to farm a bit of spirit power with, we're going to use Type 90 film. And speaking of spirit power, I should have mentioned this earlier, but there is a glitch that allows us to automatically refill our spirit power all the way to max. But I'll go into that later. With these ghosts, we have to hug the house, and for some reason when you hug the house, they take a bit longer to grab you, give you just enough time to run past them, as opposed to trying to run in between them or running to our left. Now that we got that out of the way, back to the spirit power glitch. If you mash the R1 button or the viewfinder button as you're collecting spirit power, for whatever reason the game will keep refilling your spirit power all the way up until it's maxed out, and we're going to be using that quite a few times throughout the run. But that glitch won't really come into play until the beginning of chapter 4, actually, because chapter 3 we're actually going to use all of our spirit power, and we're only going to fight 2 ghosts throughout the entire chapter. And here we are, since we got 2 halves of the key, we're on our way to the Kurosawa mansion to start chapter 3, and this is our second or third glimpse of the final boss that we're going to fight throughout the run. I mean, well, we're not going to fight throughout the run, but we will see her throughout the run. There's actually one chapter where she's chasing us and we don't have our camera, and if she touches us once, it's automatic game over. Actually, there's a couple points throughout the run where if you get touched by a specific ghost, it's game over. Even if you have a spirit stone, it won't revive you. It just goes straight to the game over screen. And this is one of those chapters, and it's our first encounter with the Kusabi, who is the second to last ghost. And you can try to fight him here if you want to, but for storyline reasons, the camera won't work against him, and you just do no damage. Actually, it doesn't even phase him. And here's our second segment of us playing with Mayu. We're just going to head on over here to the sunken fireplace and meet up with Sai. And immediately after that, it switches back to Neo. Now, instead of just fighting this ghost or killing him, wasting ammo and spirit power, we're just going to run past him. And along with the female ghost too. We don't want to waste any sort of ammo in this game. Type 0 film is very, very rare. I think even in one playthrough, you could only get up to 6 or 7 shots. Up to 6, 7, or 8 shots if you're lucky. 6 at a minimum, 8 maximum. And you probably didn't see him there, but you'll see a much better glimpse once we pass through that room again. You'll be able to see the Kusabi clearly, and we don't want to get touched by that guy. It's bad news bears if we get touched by him. Now, this chapter forces us to get a key, but in order to get the key, we're going to have to fight 2 mandatory ghosts, a wandering man ghost in the dark, and a female wandering ghost. I forget their proper names. I think it's man in dark and a woman in dark. Either way, even for beginning ghosts, they're very tanky, or at least the male ghost anyway. The male ghost takes 3 serial lens shots just to take down, but for some reason the female ghost only needs 1, and even then it's a just kill, meaning we're doing the exact amount of damage to kill the ghost. And their fight is also interesting just because of their random spawn points. Well, the male ghost always has the same spawn points, which will be towards your left, but the female ghost that you find in the same room, she can spawn wherever she wants. Heck, I had a playthrough where she spawned right behind the male ghost, and I was able to get a double shot and kill her in one go, which made that room a lot easier. But this run that doesn't happen, but it's pretty close actually. Now we have to pass through this room again. We're going to be passing through this room one more time, but this time we're going to be hugging the wall so we don't have to get close to him. And thankfully for us, he paused right there. Sometimes he'll continue to chase us, other times he'll just randomly stop at that pathway. Either way, it doesn't matter. As long as we hug that wall, he can't touch us. This is the second mandatory ghost that we're going to have to fight throughout the run. There's the man in dark ghost that I was talking about earlier. We're going to shoot him 3 times with the serial lens. And we have to do it fast. Otherwise, after we get the second shot off, the viewfinder won't lock onto him and we won't be able to hit him. But that time I was able to get him fast. And the female ghost I was talking about earlier, one of her spawn points was actually behind us on the wall near the door. That's one of the better spawn points compared to other points that she has, which includes right behind us, and she can hit us as soon as the boss fight starts, which doesn't allow us to get the quick kill on the man ghost. And this is the third and final time we're going to be getting chased by this guy before fighting him. Now I know you can run between you could actually run in the fireplace area without the ghost touching you, but I did not want to risk it. Actually, I never want to risk it. Just running past him normally it gets my hands shaking sometimes. Now a glitch that you are going to see throughout the run, even though I failed it twice, it does have a stair skating glitch like Resident Evil, like the GameCube version of Resident Evil and REHD has, but in this game it works a little different. In this game, if you try to stair skate while Neo is at the beginning or end of her stride, you will be able to stair escape, but you will move slower than you normally would just going up the stairs by holding the run button. So the idea is to try and stair escape mid stride. So you'll go at maximum speed. It's much faster that way than going up and down the stairs normally. If you mess it up, you can go back down the stairs quickly and run it back, but I prefer to just go up the stairs normally at that point. Now, beginning of chapter 4, we're going to see the spirit power glitch that I was talking about in chapter 3, and I'm also going to talk about a glitch that involves Mayu and doors. This goes, even though her viewfinding point disappears after one shot, there's a few frames where after you hit her, a shutter chance or a non-shutter chance shot will come up after you hit her. See, just like that, even though I hit her once and she disappeared, she spawned in a different place, a shutter chance shot would just randomly pop up around her for a few frames, and after that it won't pop up again until she's very close to you, about ready to attack. Now this doll stand puzzle, I think I got a 17-second solve on this. I actually flubbed up the middle there, but ultimately a 10 or 15-second solve isn't bad at all. Actually, a 10-second solve was the previous world record solve for this. I got it in 17, so here's a bit of time save right here. But yes, in case you were paying attention when I fought that ghost, when I hit her the first time, I waited for the game to give me my spirit power before mashing the viewfinder button. Even though I had 0 power, when I looked back up, I had max. Now, I don't know why that works. It's just a glitch that does work, so it's just something I started abusing. And it's actually very useful, even in casual play, I would imagine, just simply because you don't have the save function, which grants you more spirit power per shot. And spirit power, unless you get a fatal frame shot, is actually pretty hard to come by. So that glitch will be very, very useful in a casual run or a easy New Game Plus run.
You hurry up. Go. I don't want to kill anyone.
Now, at the beginning of the chapter, I was talking about a glitch that involves Mayu indoors. Well, this aspect of the game, even though it's supposed to be treated as one giant escort mission, you could completely ignore that, because as long as you open a door, regardless of how far or close Mayu is to you, she will always teleport right next to you as if she was there the entire time. And that's incredibly useful if she's getting attacked by ghosts, because even if the ghost has a hold of her and is damaging her, as long as you open that door, she will just be fine and she will teleport next to you. And I do it against the ghost, and I do it later in this chapter. Actually, I do it twice, because if you, granted, yes, you can kill the ghost that's getting a hold of her, but that wastes spirit power and time, as opposed to just opening 2 doors. And if Mayu dies, that's also an automatic game over. And in nightmare mode, she dies fast. So that's something to take note of. Like, it's funny because compared to easy and normal difficulty, a ghost can grab her and you can run around for a couple minutes, and the game, before she even starts getting hurt on a nightmare mode, as soon as she starts screaming for help, and if you're not near a door or her to shoot the ghost, a couple seconds later she's done. Actually, embarrassingly enough, I've had a couple runs end because she died, and because I got greedy and thought, I can make it towards the end of this hallway before the ghost actually starts turning her. Nah. Now, intendedly, But when you first get into this room, what you're supposed to do is go up the stairs, use the ball like I did to get the key item, and then go towards this door. But when you do that, you have to wait for the ghost holding the door locked. You have to wait for the ghost to open it, and that wastes so much time. So instead of doing that, I did the opposite. I went to the door first, and then used the ball like intended. So by the time I got the key to open this room, the door was already open, and I didn't have to sit around and wait for a few seconds. Actually, it's more than a few seconds. That's about 15-20 seconds waiting just for a door. And thankfully, that's the only door you actually have to do that for. Well, except for this one. This door won't open until the ghost walks through it. And the game will tell us when we can actually walk through the door. And this is the first case, or first example of us using the door glitch to save Mayu, so we don't have to fight the Veil Priest. We're going to be using this glitch about a couple more times, and sadly it's the last time we'll be able to use this glitch, because after this chapter we're pretty much running this game solo without Mayu, simply because we're playing the game with the intended purpose of saving her, because for whatever reason she always finds herself into trouble, even in situations where she should be put.
Stepped on. Mia, can you promise?
The shadow key will always spawn where the Veil Priest is. I turned around, facing the door that we're going to exit out of, just simply to save a few frames. Yes, Mayu can quick turn, but the quick turn is, I think, it's a couple frames slower than just manually turning around, since she has this little wind-up animation mid-stride. But in that situation, I just decided to face the door and ignore all that. Here's the stair skating glitch that I was talking about earlier. I was mashing the run button mid stride, which allows me to glide up the stairs like that. I believe Fatal Frame 1 and 3 also they have their own variation of the stair skating glitch. I'm not 100% sure if they function the same way like it does in Fatal Frame 2. Now, this area, believe it or not, is RNG. It's random whether or not Mayu will walk up the stairs slowly, or if she will run, or run as well as she could, considering she's crippled. But oddly enough, her crippling speed is actually as fast as Mio's run speed. So it takes a bit longer if she decides to walk up the stairs as opposed to limp. And for the light key, even though we know that the key is going to be on the other side, I have to wait for that entire exchange. Otherwise the key won't spawn, and I have to go all the way back to the room that was just to listen to that conversation again. I actually did that a couple times playing this game casually before deciding to pick this game up as a speed game. Now, in order to get the light key, you're supposed to fight a veiled priest to get it, but we're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to open the door and wait. And he's talking about how the mourners are causing a fuss about the earthquake, or about the rumbling of the shrine. No, or not shrine, but the abyss. And they're talking about how they need to create the Kusabi immediately. Well, after the last text box disappears, the veiled priest won't spawn. But if you enter the room before the text box disappears, we will have to fight him as a mandatory ghost. And actually, if you play this game easy new game plus, it is actually faster to fight him as opposed to wait for that exchange. But on normal or harder difficulty, it's faster to just wait it out. Now, the book puzzle, there is really nothing to talk about because the solution to the book puzzle is as you pick them up. The exact order that you pick the books up is the exact order where you put the books in the shelf, which allows you to get the light key. I think this is the one ghost where I actually failed the spirit power glitch, but every other glitch I got. Now, another reason why I did that was so that the ghost doesn't immediately go after Mayu or start hurting her. And this is the first door I open, is going to immediately warp her to the first floor. But even after I do that, the ghost is going to make his way down to the first floor. So I have to open another door to warp her to this hallway. Otherwise, the ghost is going to grab her before I get to the end of the hallway and kill her. Now, sometimes this ghost can be non-hostile. Other times he will attack immediately. So I played it safe and just decided to circle around him. And thankfully I did. So he was harmful. We're almost at the end of chapter 4 here. Didn't really do much this chapter, just fought a box ghost and got 2 keys, and now somehow, some inexplicable reason, Mayu is going to get locked in this room, and chapter 6 consists of us trying to free her. And this is the start of the game where we don't have Mayu following us around, so now the escort mission of the game is pretty much over. Not that there was much of an escort mission to begin with, because of the glitch I was showcasing earlier. Every time you enter the basement the first time to leave the mansion, the box ghost is going to spawn out of the well, but because it's not a mandatory boss fight, or a mandatory ghost fight rather, we can leave. We don't have to fight her. But if it was a mandatory ghost fight, we wouldn't be able to leave. The door would get some force around it preventing us to leave, and we'll have to fight it, but that's not the case with her. Now, when we come back, we're going to have to fight 2 mourners, and those fights are mandatory. We can't leave until we kill them. But by the time we get back there, we're going to have full spirit. Well, we already have full spirit power, so we're going to make quick work of them. That drowned ghost that I ran past has a weird spawn rate. Some playthroughs she will spawn, and other times like intended, you actually have to take a picture of the water and then the hole in the bridge, and then she'll spawn and you have to fight her. But other times she'll just spawn out of nowhere. That's the only spawn point where that's her only spawn point, by the way. She can't spawn in any other part of this village or any of the 3 houses that we're going to be walking around throughout the game. Now we have to talk to Itsuki again, even though we know what we have to do next is actually a puzzle in the Osaka house that leads us to a cave that allows us to get the key in order to free Mayu. But if we go there first, we actually spot another ghost talking about how there's this hidden passageway, but this looks like a puzzle that I have to solve. All talking to Mitsuki does first is he tells us about the puzzle before we actually figure it out. So it saves us a trip from going to the Osaka house, then to the storehouse, and back to the Osaka house. And because Mio has such an amazing run speed, it actually saves us about a minute. Yeah, even though it has no practical function, you can move the flashlight with the right analog stick. Now, unlike survival horror games like Silent Hill or even some of the Clock Tower games, the puzzles in Fatal Frame 2 are not exactly puzzles, as you're going to see with this solution. Just going to X once, down one, and X 3 times. And that's the solution. Every puzzle in Fatal Frame is like that, by the way. They're not, you can't really call them puzzles. Which is weird considering Fatal Frame 1, from what I remember, or from what I played of it, the puzzles were kind of challenging. Whereas this game, even casually, I was able to figure out all the puzzles in one try, and it just so happened to be the quick solve solutions to the puzzles. Now, this is our first encounter with the Mourner. Reason why the Mourners are so annoying is because of two reasons. One, if you hit them and it's not a shutter chance, they will counterattack you with 4 swings, and those swings hurt, and also stun lock you up until the 3rd swing. Then that's when you have a few frames to try and run away. But the most annoying thing about those ghosts is their walk speed. They walk faster than Mio runs. So unless you're in a wide open space, they are very hard to fight. And thankfully we're not forced to fight him in that situation, because he would have been a pain in the butt to fight. Now, the 2 Mourners that we're going to fight in a few minutes, even though they're in an open space, we're not going to trigger them to move at all. Not until the last hit of the 2nd Mourner ghost. That ghost we're actually just going to hit with a normal lens shot, so we can refill our spirit power for Chapter 6. And I'll talk about chapters, and I'll go into more detail about Chapter 6 when we get there, obviously, but for right now, I will say that Chapter 6 is where the run really starts. Chapter 6 determines whether or not you have a good run going. Or rather, it's the start. It's the start that determines that. Yeah, I messed up the stair skate glitch on those set of stairs. Actually, I was close enough that I could have ran back up and tried it again, but I decided, screw it. Now, this first Mourner we're going to kill without even moving. The second ghost we're going to hit him with a serial lens shot, but this time we're going to walk up and do a normal lens shot so we can refill our spirit lens, and then shoot him one more time, killing him. If I wanted to kill him even faster, I could have just used 4 spirit lens, but then I wouldn't be able. But because I would have ran out of spirit power, and I don't come across a ghost, between this house and the Kiryu house that that I spawn, or I'm sorry, I don't come across the ghost between this house and the Kiryu house to, to fight. I mean, there are a couple villager ghosts that do randomly spawn up, but that's up to chance. I chose to just play it safe and just decided, I'll just use 2 normal shots. And this is the first instance of somehow, some inexplicable reason, Mayu gets out of the prison or the little cell, and we have to chase her again. This is the third level segment where we get to play as Mayu. It's not a long section. It's very short. We just go around this corner and it cuts back to Mio. And speaking of randomly spawning ghosts, when we leave this area, there is a chance of three little kid ghosts who play hide and seek. There's a very small chance of them spawning, even though you don't really see. You're not supposed to see them until the beginning of, or not the beginning, but until chapter 8, where we're collecting 3 crests to open the Kiryu House shrine, But in this playthrough, they decided not to spawn, which is good because they're really annoying. And also not mandatory, so we can skip them entirely. But you have to fight them in order to get the save function. And that fight was just a pain in the butt. Now that we're back as Mio, even though I know, as a runner, even though I know that Mayu went to the Kiryu house and we spot a ghost going inside the Kiryu house, we still can't go inside until we take a picture of this door coming up, and then we have to take a picture of a well. Otherwise, the game won't let us progress. I can't go straight to the well to take a picture of that, and this seal just automatically disappearing. The game won't let us do that. But the good news is that we're almost done with this chapter. Actually, as soon as we get inside the Kiryu house, chapter 6 starts up immediately. And bam, this is the start of chapter 6, and we are introduced to the Kiryu twins, Asami and Akane. Now these two ghosts actually have a really interesting gimmick. one of the spirits are used to be human. The other spirit is actually a ghost. So for this fight, they both spawn, but at different intervals. One of them is the ghost. One of them is the ghost spirit that we can actually damage. The other, being a doll, we can't damage. But regardless of which one you hit, they both will disappear. So we want to hit only the spirit ghost, only the spirit. We want to do max damage and one cycle her. Now, what I just said is the easy part. The hard part is actually executing it, because sometimes the spirit will just not show up. I've had runs where it took me 2 minutes just to kill her, only because the doll kept showing up. I could just run through her the first time because she won't bother to attack me. I believe this is the doll? Yes, it's the doll. And you can tell, visually you can't tell which one is which, but with audio cues and with the camera you can tell which one's human and which one is the doll. And I'll go into that in a bit. And I do a little door glitch with the door. I try to open the door before the ghosts despawn, so that way when I unlock the door, I don't have to go through the door opening animation. I could just unlock it and head straight to this room. But I was saying before, with the specific mechanics of this ghost, you can tell which one is which by the sound of her voice. The doll will sound more monotone when she's talking. She'll say, why did you kill me?" in a monotone sort of way. But the human ghost, the human ghost that you can damage, she will say the same thing, but it's more dragged out. That's one way to tell. That's how you can tell which one spawned. Now, you could tell which one you can hit and do damage by the camera. You can't get a fatal frame shot on a doll, only a shutter chance. But with the actual girl, you can get a fatal frame. Now, that is a bit riskier. That is a riskier tell, because you have to wait until the ghost is very close to you in order to get a fatal frame shot. But with the audio cues, you can tell that immediately, because she will speak before she spawns in the room. Now, this ghost is kind of funny, because on my first playthrough, I waited there for a good 3-4 minutes before taking a picture, and I didn't realize that he will not move or start talking to himself until you shoot a picture of him, and you have to wait for a door opening sound. Otherwise, this door that I'm walking through here will stay locked. I didn't know that my first playthrough, so I just stood there for about 5 minutes wondering, okay, where am I supposed to go next? Now, before we can fight the twin ghosts again, we have to collect the doll body parts, which consists of 2 arms and a head. 2 arms, a head, and the eyes. We don't know we're supposed to get the eyes until we collect the other 3 pieces first. But we get the doll's eye from the doll maker, their father, and we fight them. We're gonna fight him in a bit. He's one of the easier ghosts in the game. Or I should say, he's easy if you have at least 3 spirit power. Otherwise he can be annoying. Yep, we just got the first body part. We're gonna go back to the first floor to get the second arm and the head. And to make that trip fast, I'm going to go through the room that I unlocked after I fought the twins ghosts the first time. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you have to go all the way around to the entrance in order to get the third piece. And that's wastes so much time going through the house, going up and down the stairs, unlocking doors. So we figured to just bypass all that and just unlock this door. I learned that after playing through this game the first time. The first time I didn't unlock that door because I thought I would never go there. Turns out, even in casual play, it's a good idea to just unlock that door. And now we got the third and final piece of the doll. We got the doll's head. But wait, what's that? Nothing happened? Yep. Looks like we're missing a piece, and know exactly what pieces we're missing. We're missing the 2 eyes that we have to get. And even though I know I have to go back to the entrance of the Kiryu house, before I do that, I have to take a picture of a pile of, I believe, ash, which spawns the detail plans, which tells us about the eyes, and the second puzzle that we're going to have to solve in this room, in this house. Which again isn't really a puzzle. You just you go left 4 times and you go right twice. This is also one of the ghosts in the game where after we hit him 1 time, he disappears and he goes to a different spawn point every time, but they're usually relatively close by. Very rarely will he ever spawn out of bounds to where you can't hit him. He's pretty tame as far as a boss. If you can quick kill him. If you don't quick kill him, he's one of the more annoying ghosts in the game to fight because he spawns dolls and shoots the dolls at you, and the dolls do, or nightmare mode, they do enough damage. They do enough damage that I don't want to deal with them, so I just decided to quick kill them with 3 serial lens shots instead of wasting all my spirit power on a crush lens, which I don't even think would do half-life even if I did use that. Now, because I have 1 spirit power, I'm going to quick kill. I'm gonna quick kill Kiryu with only 1 spirit power, but it's going to require a fatal frame shot to do so. And with this cycle, I will do enough damage to kill her. We'll be doing this in 3 hits. Now, the most optimal way to go about this room would actually be to let the ghost, at the start of this fight, grab us and use the evade function to repel her off of us. But I'm going to play it safe and just dodge her. Reason why I play it safe, because using the dodge function in this game, it's pretty hard. The window to use it isn't high at all. See, there's our serial lens shot. She's going to rush us. 1, 2. And with that, I got all my spirit power back. Now, you might have noticed, or not, but I waited a bit just so she can get away from the wall before firing her. I mean, before firing at her with a fatal frame shot. I did that so I don't shoot her into to the wall, because if you shoot a ghost into the wall, you can't follow up on any fatal frame shots. So just to bear in mind, anytime you want to go for a combo shot on a ghost, you want to be as far away from the wall as possible when doing so.
I kept waiting.
And this is the beginning of chapter 7, where we don't have our viewfinder, so we can't fight Sai yet, because we don't have our viewfinder, we don't have the camera. And if she touches us, it's automatic game over, so our only option at this point is to run. And doing all this running is going to lead us to the second floor. To the second floor, where we're going to be playing a game of hide and seek with the ghosts. As hilarious as that sounds. Missed the stair gliding glitch the first time, but that's okay, because we get it the second time. It's all good. We're safe from Sai for now. She won't try to attack us until we get into the drawer, or rather we get into this room. But when we get into this room, it's actually going to be Mio telling us to open the door.
Come on, Mio. Open the door.
I actually opened the door my very first time playing, because I really thought it was her. So I opened the door, and next thing I know, I'm dead. I'm seeing the game over screen. Thankfully, I saved at the beginning of this chapter, so I didn't lose too much progress. We're going to dodge Sai by running along the left wall, and this segment always scares me, because every time I do it, it looks like she's going to grab me every time because how the camera's situated. But I've only been grabbed by her once in that room, because I didn't know how to dodge her. Yes, we have to investigate that little switch or mechanism to let Mio know that we need to go back to this closet, pick up a doll, and do another doll puzzle. I can't go straight to this room to pick the doll up and then do the puzzle. She'll just look at the doll like, what the hell am I supposed to do with this?
I kept waiting.
I'm just gonna run past Sai one more time, and we're not going to be dealing with her again until actually the very end. This puzzle, if you can call it that, is going to be left 3, right 3. Bam! We in there. Sai's gonna tell us to stay with her, but we can't do that. We have an older sister to save.
Stay with me.
Yeah, despite the English version of this game not explicitly saying who's older between Mio and Mayu, Mayu is the older sister, whereas Mio's the younger sister. Even though if you never played through this game before, if you're just seeing the game for the first time, you would think Mayu would be the younger sister just because how dependent she is of Mio. Just a little random bit of information about the game. Or, well, actually it's not random. That actually plays a very huge role in this game's storyline. And now we got the camera back. I actually thought that we were going to have to fight that ghost that spawns on top of the camera the first time playing this game. But thankfully he's a harmless ghost, so we don't have to worry about getting messed up while we're defenseless. now that we have the camera back, we can investigate the rest of the Takebana house. And then by investigating, I mean we fight another Mandatory Ghost. This time we fight Itsuki and Mansuki's younger sister. And oh god, Casually, I think she was probably the most annoying ghost to fight, just because of her attacks. She has one special attack that if you allow her to get it off, the room that you're in goes completely black and you can't see her at all. You can't see her until she's already right in your face or already grabbing you. But thankfully, I don't have to deal with any of that throughout the entirety of this run. Because thanks to the RNG god, she doesn't even try to go for it, which is good because I don't want to hit her. I don't want to waste a zero shot or a crush shot on her and waste spirit power. I really only want a serial lens shot on her. At least for her, for the first 2 times we fight her. The third time, I do want crush lens shots. At least one, because it does, I believe, if you get that plus the fatal frame combo, it does 50%. And for nightmare mode, doing that much damage for one lens is a lot. Yeah, doing that much damage at this point in the game is a lot. Now, when I first shot her, the reason why I had the zero lens equipped was because when you first open the door, she first sits there like that, there's a chance of her being able to be hit with a shutter chance shot as opposed to just a regular shot. So I wanted to play it safe and go for the zero lens shot first. But since I got lucky and got a non-shutter chance shot, I was just able to quickly switch over to the shutter lens and just get that shot off. And for the second shot, I knew that was going to be a non-fatal frame shot, or rather, even if I didn't know, it wouldn't have mattered because she would have died either way, so I wasn't worried about the type of lens that I was using. Reason why I stand between the door is so that I have a view of both rooms, because in this area she could spawn in either rooms. So I just want to eliminate that factor by just standing in between the 2 rooms. I just worried about getting my spirit power back in that shot because she was too close to the wall. I wasn't able to get a full combo on her. This cycle, even though I got her, it was too late, and she spawned right behind me. Otherwise, I could have finished this cycle a bit faster. But I was still able to recover, aka get lucky by her spawning right in front of me. That was probably the worst Chitose fight in this cycle. This cycle goes by a lot better. That previous cycle was a bit rocky, but I was able to adjust. I stand in this particular area so that I have full reign of I have full view of where she spawns. And here I'm getting extremely lucky, getting nothing but non-shutter chance shots. And for the last shot, I think I get a fatal frame shot. Yes, I do. Again, this cycle was it was perfect. I think that was probably the best Chitose fight I've had since I started running this game. Since I started Nightmare mode. Even if I would have been able to get a fatal frame shot on her, I would have been able to use the crush lens, but and it would have did a lot of damage. But I would have had to worry about I would have had to worry about building up spirit power instead of doing damage to her. So that cycle, I got really lucky. And I made a little. And before finishing up chapter 7, I made a little detour to the Broken Neck Ghost to get some last minute spirit power before I start the next chapter, so I don't have to go out of my way to fight another ghost on chapter 8. I could just do it. I can just get out of the way now.
Ritual. Beginning. Hurry. We need to get to the old tree.
Now we're back in on escort mission mode, but this sort of thing doesn't last long. We're just gonna go to the tree first, take a picture of the tree. Then it's gonna tell us to go to the shrine, take a picture of the shrine, and then we're gonna go back to the tree, and then Mayu's just going to pass out, and we have to collect 3 crests throughout the village to open the shrine. But she's going to stay in the tree. She's not going to follow us, so we don't have to worry about protecting her. It would have been really nice to be able to just go straight to this shrine, take a picture of the shrine, and then go back to the tree to find the tree already unlocked. But we can't do that. This game really likes us to take roundabout ways to proceed. It's kind of funny. Now, this is kind of a beginner's trap in a casual playthrough, but if you go through the hole in the fence and get the item, which isn't even a good healing item, I think it's just herbal medicine, a scripted fight comes up, and I'm not sure if it's mandatory or not. I don't think so, but I just think it's funny that they made a scripted fight just for that specific area after getting that item. Because if you go to that area before this chapter and pick up the item, the ghost doesn't show up. But it's only during this chapter where if you go to the back of the shrine and pick up the healing item, will the ghost decide to spawn. And we're just gonna run past the little veiled ghost, no problem. Even though Mayu's far behind. She teleports with us. In the next scene, and she's passed out. And now our first objective is to go to the Osaka house and get the Osaka crest. And in order to do that, we're gonna have to fight the box ghost in that house. But just like the last time we fought the box ghost, we're going to do a quick kill. But it's not gonna be the world record strat quick kill, or at this point previous world record strat quick kill. It's just gonna be we're gonna shoot her with a crush lens and get 2 shutter chance shots on her, and she's gonna go down. But she's still not gonna be able to attack. This way, when the box goes spawn, there's a chance that it will just be a regular shot. It won't be a shutter chance shot. So at that point, you can machine gun her with serial lens shots until she goes down. But throughout my time running this game, I've only had that happen a couple times, and I've never had that happen on nightmare mode, so I haven't been able to get that time safe. But of course, before we go to the Osaka house, we have to talk to Itsuki one last time. But we're not really going to talk to him. We're just going to enter and leave. There is Type 0 film in that room, but we don't want to waste time getting it. And it's not. And if you're playing on normal difficulty, it's not. It's one of the second types of Type 0 film that's not out of the way. But on nightmare mode, it's not worth it for us, especially considering we're only going to get 2, maybe 3 shots out of it. So we just enter and leave, and come here. But there's that shutter chance shot I was talking about. I shot her into the wall and got another one. Because of the positioning, I can't get another shot off. And thankfully I think she spawns either in the same area or very damn close to it. So I was still able to get a third shot and a just kill and refill all of my spirit power. And just like that, we're done with the Osaka house. Now I could go to the cemetery or back to the Kiryu house and get the Kiryu crest, but it's faster to go to the Kiryu house. I mean, it's faster to go in this cycle. Osaka house, Kiryu house, cemetery. Just because it's on the way and you don't have to. If you go to the cemetery, you have to backtrack to the tree and go to the front side of the Kiryu house instead of the back. So instead, we're just going to go to the back side of the Kiryu house first, and then through the tree, which leads us directly to the cemetery, and then we're going to go back to the tree and end chapter 8. Reason why we go through this entrance instead of the back entrance is because the ghost that we have to fight is just up this floor. We don't have to go through a lot of rooms. Plus, we don't have to go through a lot of rooms. Plus, climb up a lot of stairs to get to her. We just climb up the second floor. And this is the third and last time we're gonna fight the Kiryu twins. It's the same. This is gonna be the exact same thing like last time. We're gonna bait the doll into hitting us, and then pray to God that the girl will spawn. And in this run, she does. I was honestly surprised when she spawned because it takes a couple times before she spawns. Yep, I'm gonna wait for it to walk out of the wall a bit. Wait for it to attack, get two fatal frame shots, and she goes down. And we're done with the Kiryu house. Now we're gonna go to the cemetery. We're gonna go to the cemetery and fight the broken neck ghost. Before this run, my strat against the broken neck ghost was to just machine gun her 4 times with the serial lens, and then on the final chapter I will farm the ghost that we fight up the shrine for my spirit power. But I was able to find a video that shows us that you can just that you can hit her 3 times with the serial lens and get 2 fatal frame shots and use the spirit power glitch to refill your spirit power. And I almost do that, except I somehow choked on the fatal frame combo and missed the second shot. So I had to waste one extra shot. I had to waste one extra shot and waste about 10-15 seconds before I was able to hit her again. So there's another time save. My biggest time save on this run is actually going to be the Mr. Kurosawa fight. And I will explain why when we get to that fight. But for now, I will just do a little refresher on this ghost fight that we're about on the broken neck ghost fight that we're going to fight in a few seconds. Now, instead of walking in front of the instead of walking to the front of the tombstone, instead I pull out the camera first and then shoot it, because otherwise you will automatically lock onto the ghost that's behind you, and you don't want to do that. Because then at that point you have to waste time turning around to the tombstone. Yep, come on, dug now. There's a fatal frame shot. And I missed somehow. I moved to the right instead of the left. Otherwise, the second shot would have killed her. But instead, I just waited until the viewfinder was able to lock on her again and just took her out with a quick shot. I could have saved 10 seconds on that. And yes, now that we got all 3 crests to open the shrine and leave the village, we're done with chapter 8. Yes, there is a puzzle before this actual chapter, but it's not a puzzle, so we're done with chapter 8. X once, right twice, down 3 times.
Reach the shrine up there. We can leave the village.
Look, you thought we were leaving the village? If only. Then this run could have been over by now. Actually, the game gives you the option of going after your sister like you're supposed to, or you can leave her behind. You can go straight for the shrine, leave her, and the game will be over. You get a legit ending for it. But afterwards, you get the game over screen. You don't get a completion screen, so it's not counted. It's not counted as a speed run, even though I personally think it should be. Because if it was up to me, I would have left her ass. But because we're going to be a good younger sister, we're going to save our older sister, which requires us to go back to the Kurosawa mansion again, and we have to fight Mr. Kurosawa before we can head down to the cave into the hellish abyss. Now, Mr. Kurosawa, he's going to be either your biggest time saver in this game, or your biggest time waster in this game for one reason. Even though it's possible to one cycle him, I don't think the game devs intended you to do that, because even on the easy difficulties, they go out of your I found it pretty hard to do so, because if you do a shot combo and he's not dead, he will spawn 2 Veil Priests and disappear off the map. And you can't hit him until one of those, until you kill both priests, or you killed one of those priests and he randomly decides to spawn back. On nightmare mode, the only way you can one cycle him is to machine gun shot him with 4 serial lens shots. Now the problem with that is that every time you hit him, he has a chance of counteracting with a random action. Sometimes he will counteract with a attack. Sometimes he will counteract with just walking around the shrine, with the shrine place that we're in. And when he's doing that, you can't shoot him at all until he pops out of the wall, about ready to attack you, and then at that point it's a fatal frame shot. So granted, on normal difficulty that's fine, normal and easy, that's great, but on nightmare mode, that's not what we want, because it's not going to do a lot of damage, even with our Type 0 film. And another counteraction he has is he shoots three rays of light at us, or 3 spirit balls at us, and up until even a few frames after he shoots them, we can't hit him until the viewfinder starts reacting to him, and at that point it's a fatal frame shot because he's in an attack animation, which again is fine for building up our spirit power, but not for killing him. Unless we want to waste a crush lens shot, which you can do, but that will bring him down to below 50%, which at that point he has a much greater chance of summoning his 2 veiled priests. And if you leave him with a pixel of health, the next thing he will always do without fail, he will summon 2 veiled priests. So the main way to one cycle him is you have to get him to he has to stand still. He has to willingly stand still, which he will do. It's not common, but he'll do it. He has to stand still, and after each shot, his counteraction has to not move, which again is possible, but not likely. At least in a single segment run. Like, I'm positive in a segmented run, you can load the game a couple times, you can get the cycle, but in a single segment, good luck. I think I've gotten it once, and even then it took 2 separate situations. It took 2 separate times in order for him to stand still. See, like, that's his first counteraction. He's just going to shoot the rays of life, rays of spirit, and that's actually the first time I got hit. If it wasn't for that, this run would have been no damage run. Now, I could have used the 0 lens shot to shoot him, but it wouldn't have killed him, first of all, and it would have brought him below 50%, and he would have just summoned the veiled priest. So I decided to play it safe and take the hit, and just waited until he decided to stand still and go at it again. Now, as you saw, the second time I shot him, he decided to walk out of the wall and spawn somewhere else. And by the time I was able to find him, he summons the veiled priest because he was below 50%, so much greater chance of doing so. And these veiled priests are the vastest priests in the game, I'll tell you. They teleport all over the place, inbounds, out of bounds, doesn't matter. Now, because I know he's below 50%, I just figured, you know what, I would take the chance and just go with a 0 lens shot instead of a crush lens shot. And thankfully I was able to get the fatal frame shot. Otherwise, who knows what he would have done afterwards. It would have been up to chance. So given the situation I was in, I took a huge gamble and it paid off. Now, in the off chance you do get to one cycle him, you save a minute and a half. So it's possible with perfect RNG on the Kiryu twins, Chitose fight, and Mr. Kurosawa, it's possible to get an hour 23. Now, this was probably the most nerve-wracking part of the game for me, both casually and speedrunning, because now we have to go through this long, winding, narrow corridor filled with nothing but mourners. So yes, that's right. We have to go through a long corridor filled with ghosts who move faster than we run, and a narrow corridor. And these aren't like just a single ghost. This is gangs of two, sometimes up to gangs of three. And we have to dodge these two. I could have farmed at least one of them for spirit power, but I chose not to. I wanted to play it safe and decided to just farm the next mourner because it's only one. So it would have been a lot easier to do so than having to worry about another ghost trying to kill me. For him, I waited for a fatal frame shot instead of just a normal shutter chance, so I can make sure and guarantee myself with 4 spirit power, because I did not want him to counterattack and I find out I don't have enough spirit power to the point where I have to farm for another mourner, which I don't want to do. For the Kusabi, now we're on our way to fight the second boss in the game, second to last boss fight in the game, the Kusabi. On Nightmare Mode, the only way to hurt him is with Type 0 film. The only way to do huge chunks of damage is with Type 0 film and a crush lens. If you try to fight him any other way, without using crush lens or zero lens, you're doing pixels of damage. If you try to fight him with other film that's not Type 0 film, you're not hurting him. Because not only is he a type of ghost that disappears after each shot, he's the only ghost in the game that has regenerative health. Also, he's the only ghost in the game where you cannot get you can't get a non-shutter chance shot. You either get a shutter chance or a fatal frame shot. And what you get between the two are completely random. You can tell if you're going to get a fatal frame shot or not, because he makes a little moan before attacking and you hear the jingle. This run, I got lucky. I got a couple of fatal frame shots when I needed them, when I had spirit power, so I could almost always do max damage against them. But yes, I've had a couple runs, and I've seen a couple runs where you do not get fatal frame chances at all against them. And if you don't get fatal frame shots or any fatal frame shots when you have crush lens, you can't 3-cycle him. I believe 3-cycle is the fastest way to kill him. Maybe if you're lucky, and this is a big maybe, if you get a fatal frame shot the very first shot, fatal frame shot with a full combo, and then another fatal frame shot with crush lens and a full combo, you might do enough damage to 2-cycle him, but I don't think that's feasible. Not in a single segment run. There is our first fatal frame shot. I'm not really, even though I'm glad to get the fatal frame shot, the damage is kind of negligible. I'm doing it more for spirit power rather than damage, but the extra damage does help a bit. Because of that second fatal frame, it made it worth it. This boss, probably the most nerve-wracking boss in the game, next to Sai's first form, because if he touches you, you're dead. You can't. He instantly kills you, even with with a mirror stone. But unlike Sai, he's really slow, so he's not as nerve-wracking. You just have to make sure you don't miss. As long as you don't miss against him, you're fine. Sai's first form is bad because if you miss, or shoot too early, you don't get another chance. She just quickly glides at you, chokes you, and you die. Automatic game over, runs over. At the end of the game. But the trade-off is she goes down. Her first form, she goes down in one hit. So that's a big trade-off. But the fight truly doesn't start until the second form. That's when you get a real boss fight. Her second form, she starts out having a giant laughing fit. You can't really do anything about it. You can't skip it. At least this laughing fit you can't skip. However, after this laughing fit, you can run into her smoke, and she will teleport. And she can do this up to 4 or 5 times, or up until you run up to her smoke. So you can actually manipulate where she ends up. And after the fourth teleport, you want to position yourself away from the shrine so you don't back up into a wall. And you just want to keep backing up and getting serial lens shots. And she will go down. She will go down in 4 shots. You can use a normal shot, but I just figure I don't want to chance it, so just use the fourth shot. And that's Fatal Frame 2. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly, an hour and 25 minutes 40 seconds. And this is the world record run as of August 12th, 2016. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy watching.